The OldPreMeds podcast, session number 155. You're a non-traditional student entering the medical field on your terms. You may have had some hiccups along the way, but now you're ready to change course and go back and serve others as a physician. This podcast is here to help answer your questions and help educate you on your non-traditional journey to becoming a physician. Now, welcome to the OldPreMeds podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your host here every week, where I take questions directly from the non-traditional pre-med form over at premedforms.com. You can find that over at medicalschoolhq.net/forms, or you can now go to premedforms.com. Today we have a great question from a student asking about an SMP, a Special Master's Program. Before we jump in, if you have a question that you want answered here on the podcast, again, go to premedforms.com, register for an account if you don't already have one. It'll take a day or two or three to get approved. If you aren't approved and you get an email saying you've been declined, just shoot an email back and saying, hey, I wasn't a spammer, I promise. We've made it a little bit more stringent to get in just to try to cut down on spam. So go register for an account, ask your questions, join an amazing community. Again, premedforms.com. Our question today comes from J89. He says, hi, J. Crom here. I wanted to know if a special master's program would be unnecessary for my situation. I'm a 29-year-old non-trad taking prereqs at a community college here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Currently, I have completed a year of bio with A's, finishing this semester of Chem 1 and Physics 1 with A's, taking Chem 2 and Physics 2 next semester, as well as OChem 1 and 2 in the summer. I also work full-time. I don't have any past science courses from my undergrad and grad school degree programs, so these are all fresh grades. I live within minutes of the University of Pittsburgh. Offered at UPitt is Biomedical Master's Program with a linkage to UPitt's medical school. Interview only, no MCAT required. It's a 12-month, 32-credit SMP. The reason I am considering this program is, besides offering more advanced science courses, the program also offers research and shadowing opportunities, an aspect of this process I'm struggling to find, built into the curriculum. That's the upside. The downside is, well, it's a master's program, so I'm looking at up to $30,000 in tuition for the year. Getting into UPitt School of Medicine is not guaranteed at all, but if I keep this trending of A's at the community college and take additional courses like biochem and genetics and do well on the MCAT, should this carry enough weight in an application for me? I can't say I'd find as much shadowing and research opportunities as I would be exposed in the SMP, but I'm sure I can find something. Thanks for the advice. So let's just break down the question at its core. All right? The question at its core is, should I spend $30,000 to get some shadowing? Should I spend $30,000 to get some shadowing? If you ask yourself that, and you go, yeah, I think that's worth it, then I need to start some shadowing. I need to start some shadowing programs and start charging people $30,000 to get some shadowing. Guess what? Allison just went into private practice as a neurologist, and she is now accepting students to shadow. Please send me a check for $30,000. I think that's a great deal, because I think that's what a lot of students do this. They go to these programs because, guess what? Finding a physician to shadow is hard. And so they go, I might as well do an SMP. All right, and take some more classes. It has a potential linkage, but I get shadowing. And then I don't have to ask anybody for shadowing anymore because they do it for me. Do you want to spend $30,000 to shadow? That's the question that they're asking. The answer is no. Do not do an SMP if your grades are good and you're lacking shadowing. Go find a physician to shadow. You can find somebody. It's not that hard. You have to do some work. It's a lot of work, but it's not hard. You have to get a lot of no's, a lot of rejections, which people don't like, but it's not hard. So find the shadowing. Go listen to podcast episodes about how to find shadowing. I've covered it a ton. Go and find shadowing. Go and find research. Go and find clinical experience. Those are absolutely necessary. Guess what you can do? You don't have to apply immediately as soon as you're done with your courses. You can take a year, get the clinical experience that you need, and then apply. And save the $30,000. $30,000 is a lot of money. And unfortunately, we live in a society where the government is throwing money left and right at students to spend at schools. And students are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt even before medical school. And then you add medical school on top of it, and students are just buried in debt. And it will be the next bubble to burst. Right? We had the housing market in 2008. The student loan deficit is a tremendous burden on students right now. So do not do an SMP if you're doing it just because you're lacking some things in your application that you can take some time and fit them in and get them. Ask people, find some shadowing, find some research, find some clinical experience. Do not do an SMP if you have good grades and you don't need to prove to anybody that you can handle the coursework of medical school. That is what an SMP is for. Period. End of story. The linkage is a nice to have. Guess what? You said it a couple times. It's not guaranteed. So do not go and spend $30,000 to get some shadowing. That was kind of an easy answer for me because it's straightforward. In my mind, there's no buts in this one. So if, again, I mentioned earlier, if you have a question that you want answered here on the podcast, go to premedforums.com, go to the non-traditional pre-med subforum, and register for an account, ask your question, and hopefully it'll be picked to be answered here on the Old Pre-Meds podcast. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time.